Hi, welcome to our Pharma Topics channel. Welcome to the uh, fifth series of pharmacological and toxicological screening methods, Unit 1. Let us see about CPCSEA. It is the Committee for the Purpose of Control and Supervision of Experimentation on Animals. It comes under the Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Government of India. This has a control over Institutional Animal Ethics Committee, biological products related research. The main functions of CPCSEA are registration of establishments conducting animal experimentation or breeding of animals for this purpose, selection and appointment of nominees in the institutional animal ethics committees of the registered establishments, approval of animal house facilities based on the reports or the inspections conducted by CPCSEA, and permission for conducting experiments involving the use of animals. The principles of CPCSEA, there are around 5 principles: justification of animal testing, reduction and replacement of animal testing, minimization, pain and suffering, rehabilitation and euthanasia, housing, handling, and veterinary care. These are the important principles of CPCSEA. The functions of CPCSEA are registration of establishments. No establishment shall perform any animal experimentation unless it is registered with CPCSEA. Approval of animal house facilities. Rule 5 of breeding of and experimentation on animals, control and supervision rules 1998. Use of animals in experiments. Rule 9 BB of breeding of experiments on animals deals with the use of animals, which use can be used for which experimentation. And lowest, they justify that lowest phylogenetic scale and minimum number of animals to give statistically significant results at 95% confidence interval. Procurement of animals, where they have to purchase the animals, it should be from the registered breeders only. This also deals with the welfare of animals during and post experimentation. That comes under Rule 9 CC of this Act, control and supervision rules. Good laboratory practice. The goal of good laboratory practice is to promote human care of animals used in biomedical and behavioral research, enhance well-being and promote advancement of scientific research. Veterinary care, animal procurement. Already we have seen it should be from the approved breeders only. Quarantine, stabilization and separation. Small animals can be kept at quarantine for 1 week to 1 month, whereas large animals should be quarantined for up to 6 weeks in case of dogs, monkeys. Surveillance, diagnosis, treatment, and control of diseases. That is controlling the zoonotic diseases. An animal care and technically qualified and trained personnel should be there. Personal hygiene, personal protective equipment, shower, change of uniform, footwear, all these things comes under good laboratory practice. Then animal experimentation involving hazardous agents. Policies governing such protocols under the guidance of Institutional Biosafety Committee. That's what we have seen as IBSC. Then multiple surgical procedures on single animal should not be practiced unless specified in the protocol only approved by IAEC. Duration of experimentation. No animal should be used for experimentation greater than 3 years unless adequate justification is provided. Location of the animal house. Physically, it should be separate animal facility from the personal areas such as offices, break room, training and educational room. The good laboratory practice also deals with functional areas of the animal house, how they should receive, quarantine, isolate and separate the species. Receiving and storage areas for bedding, feedbacks, showers, sinks, washing area, autoclave and area for storage of wastes until disposal. Then physical facilities such as building materials, it should be durable, moisture resistant, fire resistant, vermin or pest resistant. The corridors should be clean. The utilities such as drains, water lines and electrical connections should be proper. Environment, the temperature should be between 18 to 29 degrees centigrade at all the times. Humidity should be between 30 to 70%. Ventilation, 12 hours light and dark for small species and 15 air cycles per hour. Lighting, they should use fluorescent light less than 400 lux. And noise should be controlled less than 85 decibels. Then feed, it should be palatable, non-contaminated and nutritionally adequate food daily, unless the experiment protocol requires, otherwise should be kept easily accessible and avoid contamination with the waste. Then bedding, it should be absorbent free from toxic chemicals or other substances that cause irritation, injury to the animals. Changing bedding should be twice a week or whenever necessary. Water, it should be easily accessible, fresh, potable, uncontaminated drinking water with the zipper bottles. Then sanitation and cleanliness, disinfection and washing of the cages and disposal of waste, maybe by incineration, autoclaving, shedding, and it should be environmental friendly. Even for the disposal of waste, we are going to see a separate slide regarding this in the forthcoming slides. Emergency weekend holiday care. Institutional policy should be designed to care the animals by qualified personnel every day, including weekends and holidays, to safeguard their well-being, including emergency veterinary care. Record keeping, animal house plan, animal house staff record, health records, breeding records, stock records, purchase and sales records, minutes of IAEC meetings, records of completed animal experiments as in Form D, mortality or postmortem records, water feed and bedding materials, analysis reports of water and rehabilitation records should be kept. And then this is for the transportation. The CPCA has designed a guideline how much animals should be there in a particular cage. Minimum in case of mice, it should be not more than 25. Spacing per animal is you can in a cage you can keep it. Height of the box should be 12 centimeters or more. For rat also it is same. For example, if you see in the dog, one or two dogs kept in the cage, and the cage height should be 50 centimeters. For primates, it is only 1. And then registration renewal of animal house licenses. There are different licenses for the animal houses. One is for registration for the purpose of education, it comes as RE, and registration for the purpose of research, which is commercial, that is RC, and registration for the purpose of research only, it is R, and registration for the purpose of non-research but commercial is production of hyperimmune plasma and serum, that is NRC, and registration for breeding in-house, that is BI. Registration for breeding for the purpose of trade, it is BT. I have given some examples. You can see what license it is. Suppose first is PO RCBI SL 99 CPCSEA. See here you can see it is RC, that is registration for the purpose which is commercial. BI, so they have in-house breeding, and SL is small as well as large animals. Suppose if you see the next license, it is RCBI L. That is registration which is commercial, breeding in-house, small animals as well as large animals. Then RCBI, yes. So it is RC is registration which is commercial, and BI is in-house breeding for small animals. Then this you can see R, BI, BT, yes. R is registration for the purpose of research, BI is in-house breeding, BT is trade, and S is small animals. So they have the license for in-house as well as for trade. Then the IAEC, there are around 7 members, a biological scientist, so 2 scientists from the different biological disciplines, a veterinarian involved in care of animals, scientist in charge of animal house facility, a scientist from outside the institute, a non-scientific socially aware member, and a nominee of CPCSEA. From this, the chairperson of the committee and the member secretary would be nominated by the institution among the 8 members. Serial 5, 6 and 7 are nominated by CPCSEA with a provision for link nominee for the CPCSEA nominee. IAEC will review and approve all type of research proposals involving small animal experimentation before start of the study. For experimentation on large animals, the case is required to be forwarded to CPCSEA in the prescribed manner. Then the recommendation by the IAEC. Only CPCSEA will approve the animal experimentation on large animals. Then IAEC is required to monitor the research throughout the study and after completion of the study throughout the periodic reports and visits to animal house and laboratories where the animal experiments are conducted. The committee has to ensure compliance with all regulatory requirements, applicable rules, guidelines, and laws. The quorum of the IAEC meetings, minimum 6 members are required to compose a quorum. Presence of CPCSEA main nominee is mandatory during the meeting. Linked nominee can attend in case of main nominee's non-availability, but that should be represented to the chairman of the IAEC in writing by the main nominee. Socially aware members' presence is mandatory in cases referred to CPCSEA and at least one meeting in a calendar year. The proposals of the IAEC meeting should be submitted in the prescribed form. All relevant documents with the checklist should be enclosed with the application form signed by the principal investigator and co-investigators and collaborators should be submitted to the IAEC. IAEC is required to send the copy of the minutes of the IAEC within 15 days to CPCSEA. Inspection report of animal house with photographs by IAEC members to be sent once in a calendar year is required, must be submitted to CPCSEA within 30 days. The forms to be submitted to IAEC. Form A is application for registration of the breeder, establishment of the educational or the educational institution. Form B is application for permission of animal experiments. Form C and D is the record of animals for breeding, acquired and experiments performed. Form E is record of animals sold to the establishment by the traders. Let us see about, I already told you the disposal of the waste. Biomedical waste is actually a health hazard. So there are many agencies which are working on it. They keep different bins for different kind of products. And one such industry is GJ Multiclave. They collect the biological waste from the animal experimentation laboratories as well as the human laboratories. So they give different dustbins for different kind of biological waste. They transport, they take care of the transport, and they can incinerate or autoclave, and that is made environmental friendly by disposing this waste. There are different guidelines for the animal studies. Most of them I have discussed in this video. First is effect on the biotic systems. Guideline 202, it is acute immobilization test or reproduction test. 203, it deals with the fish acute toxicity test. 204, fish prolonged toxicity test. It's a 14-day study. And 205 is avian dietary toxicity test, and 206 is avian reproduction test. Then 305A, bioaccumulation. This deals with the bioaccumulation sequential static fish test. 305B, semi-static fish test. 305C, test for degree of bioconcentration in fish. 305D, static fish test. And 305A, flow through fish test. Then from the 400, the guidelines are different. It's a OECD guideline. 402 is acute dermal toxicity, fixed dose procedure. 403, acute inhalation toxicity. 404, acute dermal toxicity studies. 405, ocular toxicity study. 406 is skin sensitization, Guineapig maximization test or and Buchler's test. 407 is a repeated dose, that is sub-acute toxicity study. 408 repeated dose, that is subchronic 90-day oral toxicity study in rodents. 409 repeated dose 90-day oral toxicity in non-rodents. 410 is repeated dose dermal toxicity, and 411 is subchronic dermal toxicity, which is a 90-day study. Then 412 is 28-day inhalation toxicity study. 413 is 90-day subchronic inhalation toxicity study. 414 prenatal development toxicity study. 415 one generation reproduction toxicity study. 416 two generation reproduction toxicity study. 417 is toxicokinetic studies. 418 is delayed neurotoxicity of organophosphorus compounds following acute exposure. Then 419 is a delayed neurotoxicity of organophosphorus substances, that is a repeated dose toxicity study. Then 420 is acute oral toxicity, fixed dose procedure. 421 is a reproduction development toxicity study. 422 combined repeated dose toxicity study with reproduction development toxicity screening test. 423 acute oral toxicity study, acute toxic class method. 424 is a neurotoxicity study in rodents. 425 is acute oral toxicity study, up and down procedure. 426 is a developmental neurotoxicity study. 427 skin absorption in vivo method. 428 skin absorption in vitro method. Then 429 skin sensitization, local lymph node assay. 430 in vitro skin corrosion, transcutaneous electrical resistance test method. 431 reconstructed human epidermis test. It's an in vitro skin corrosion test. 432 in vitro 3T3 NRU phototoxicity study. 433 acute inhalation toxicity study, fixed concentration procedure. 435 in vitro membrane barrier test for skin corrosion. 436 acute inhalation toxicity, acute toxic class method. Then 437 bovine corneal opacity study. 438 isolated chicken eye test method. 439 in vitro skin irritation, reconstructed human epidermis test methods. 440 is a eutrophic bioassay in rodents. It is for testing the estrogenic properties. Then 441 is Hirschberger bioassay in rodents. It is related to androgenic properties of drugs. Then 442A skin sensitization local lymph node assay. 442B local lymph node assay. 442C key event based testing guideline for sensitization tests. 442D it is related to keratinocyte activation. 442E it is related to skin sensitization assay. 443 extended one generation reproduction toxicity study. Then 451 carcinogenicity studies. 452 chronic toxicity studies. 453 combined chronic toxicity study and carcinogenicity study. 455 performance based guideline for stably transfected transactivation in vitro assays. 456 H29 295R steroidogenesis assay. 458 androgen receptor transactivation assay. Then 460 fluorescein leakage test method for ocular corrosive substances test. 471 bacterial reverse mutation test. 473 in vitro mammalian chromosomal aberration test. 474 mammalian erythrocyte and micronucleus test. 475 mammalian bone marrow chromosomal aberration test. 476 in vitro mammalian cell genome mutation test. 478 rodent dominant lethal test. 483 mammalian spermatogonial chromosomal aberration test. Then 485 genetic toxicology for heritable translocation assay in mouse. 486 is unscheduled DNA synthesis assay in the liver cells. 487 in vitro mammalian cell micronucleus test. 488 is transgenic rodent somatic and germline mutation assays. 489 is in vivo mammalian alkaline comet assay. 490 is in vitro mammalian cell mutation, gene mutation, thymidine kinase gene. 491 draft updated test guideline. 491 492 reconstructed human cornea-like epithelium test. 493 is a performance-based testing guideline for human recombinant estrogen receptor in vitro assay. Then 494 it is also a eye irritancy test. 495 is a reactive oxygen species assay for photoactivity. Then 496 OECD guideline, it is in vitro macromolecular testing method for serious eye damage. 497 it is a defined approach test for skin sensitization. 498 it is in vitro phototoxicity, reconstructed human epidermis phototoxicity method. Then let us see about the guidelines for acute toxicity studies. So it is we have discussed earlier 420 which is fixed dose procedure. 423 acute toxic class method. 425 it is up and down procedure. only in the fixed dose procedure, a sighting study or the pilot study is involved. Then in case of 420, fixed doses 5, 50, 300 and 2000 are used. In case of acute toxic class method, 5, 50, 300, 2000, 3 rats per dose are used. In 425, there will be up and down procedure method. At the lower dose and the higher dose, the animals will sequentially change till they observe mortality or no effect. Then the study 420 guideline identifies the lowest fixed dose causing evident toxicity. 423 identifies the lowest fixed dose causing mortality. And 425 up and down procedures, it estimates the LD50. The output in case of 420, the range estimate of LD50 signs of acute toxicity on the target organs. That is same in all the cases. Go through all the series in the Pharmatopics channel. I hope this video will be useful related to the GLP guidelines or other guidelines related to animal experimentation, the registration procedures, the forms, and the OECD guidelines. I hope it will be useful for you. Kindly subscribe to Pharmatopics channel. Kindly share this video to your friends. Thank you for listening to this video. Go through all the videos which is present in this playlist in the Pharmatopics channel. Thank you.